Have you ever wondered how all those old-fashioned values that we grew up with seem to have gone out the window? And have you also noticed how, seeing that they've gone, we seem a much more self type of person, or want everything our own way? Because that's what I'm thinking is happening. And it was brought to mind last weekend over 2 days. On the first day, I went to the American cemetery with a YouTuber friend of mine who was over from America. His name's Tim Childers, and he's got a channel called The New Retired Me. And I'll put a link to that down in the comments. And while we were there, we were talking about the way the world has changed since the war years and how it seems to be a much more selfish place than it used to be. And the following day, Debs and I went to a 1940s weekend at Ramsey in Cambridgeshire. And once again, it seemed like going back in time, people were different. And it seemed a very much more friendly atmosphere there than what we face in the normal world. And it got me thinking about those old values that we used to have. They're still there, but most people tend to not use them these days. And I'm talking about things like respect for your elders. When I was a kid growing up, that was really important. My parents drummed it into me about that. And now, in this day and age, they talk about us boomers like we're ignorant know-nothings. It's really how things changed along the way. Good manners was another thing that my parents brought me up with. Now, I'm not so good at saying please, but I always say thank you. But it's also about treating normal people, if you like, not just your elders, but with respect. And things as silly as if me and Debs are walking down a road, down a pavement, I'll go to the outside and she goes to the inside. And it's something that I was taught when I was a boy, that the women always go to the inside, because if you ever someone's ever going to get hit by the car, it's your job to protect. And those sorts of things have gone. Along with integrity is another thing. Because at the end of the day, that's the only thing you really have when people talk about you. And the way people talk about you does depend very much on the way you act and the way you live your life. And I suppose integrity is a key, if you like. It's the way people know that you are who you say you are. You follow through on the things that you say. The way you act is so important. And that's something that's really major. There's no doubt about that. And then, of course, we've got that other one, responsibility, where you're responsible for everything you say and everything you do. You can blame other people, but at the end of the day, if you're led by somebody else, that's your fault. You have to be responsible for what you say and what you do. And they're things that we hear all the time now. It's not my fault. People have started to pass the buck. These are things that years and years ago were things that people just took it as standard, as normal. And then there's this other one, discipline. And I'm not talking about smacking people all the time and hitting people because they don't do what they're told. I'm talking about self-discipline. The things that you know that you need to do and actually doing them because you know you have to. And it also comes with when you say you're going to do something as well. If you say you're going to do something, make sure that you do it, because the discipline ties back into your integrity. And all of these things that they're deemed old-fashioned in this day and age. And as you look around the world that's led by the internet and computers and our phones, we carry these computers with us all the time, and we're overloaded with information from different sources. A lot of it isn't true. There's no doubt about that. But we've become self-obsessed, I think, because we spend so much time with our head in front of a phone, communicating just with that. And so as you become more self-obsessed, you care less about other people. And in that way is where I think these values that were held dearly seem to be going down. But what I think is that instead of letting them go, we should be bringing them back. Because if people don't hold themselves to a standard, if people don't hold themselves to a higher standard, if you like, then what's to become of us? We're not at the stage yet where it's a free-for-all, but it's pretty much getting on that way. And unless we try to keep these values going, things are going to get worse. Now, we're not at that point yet, and we're not also the people that are going to change the world. Well, not individually anyway. I think it's all well and good saying, oh, I don't like this and I don't like that, and I'm going to do this and I'm going to do that. But most of us don't. I know I'm one of them that says I should do this and I should do that, but I don't. But what I do know is that there is a part of the world I can control, and that is me. And my mum brought me up. I'm not saying it's not me, my dad didn't, but particularly my mum brought me up with this sense of letting people know that you're good by your actions. And mum used to say things like, people's first opinions of you are the way they'll treat you forever. And so she always brought that up. And even at 64, I can still understand why she said that. And I think that being the best me that I can be may not change the world. But if you think of when you used to go to a lake and you'd throw stones in the lake, what would you do? You'd throw a stone in and it would splash in the water, and then these little ripples would work their way out. And this is what I think about you being the best you that you can be, is that in a very small way, you're much the same. Because if you hold yourself to a higher standard, there's a very good chance that the people surrounding you will live up to that standard too. And then if those people start to live up to it as well, that ripple will go a little bit further. And I'm just confused. I'm coming up to my turning and there's bollards everywhere. Okay, that's all right. I'm okay. I can get off. And so you get that thing that if you are the center of that little ripple and you goes out and it passes to your friends and your family and they notice that you live to that standard, it may just go that the people that you associate with may live up to your standard too. And if not your standard, if they just improve a little bit, then that ripple will spread further. And so what I'm saying is, if enough people live to their highest standard, and if they go back to those things that are so important, of respect for others, of good manners, of integrity, of responsibility and of discipline, if you do all that, you can make the world a better place. If it's only you and your world, by you doing it, someone else may go, wow, have you seen him? He's changed. Have you noticed how he's better than he used to be? or she's used to be. Do you see where I'm coming from? If we all do that, if we all could do just that little bit, then we can make the world a better place just by being that focal point. And that's all I really wanted to talk about today. So that's it from me. If you have a look up there, you know the normal drill. I'm going to shove a video up there that I think will help. I'll see you next time.